Welcome back. It's time for Data Point, and we are reflecting on what's just about to happen in the next 1 week, which is the end of the month of February. And you may remember this, that there has been reforms to the NSSF contribution since February 2023. And that time, there were tiers that were created, meaning if you earn a salary monthly, the first 6,000 of your salary would be put into Tier 1. That was in 2023. In Tier 2 was up to 18,000 shillings, meaning that in 2024 that went up to 7,000 shillings, and the Tier 2 was 36,000 shillings. In 2025, Tier 1 went up to 8,000 shillings, and this is what is about to happen in the next 1 week. And the upper limit is 72,000 shillings. I'll be telling you how that works, because the NSSF rate remains at 6%, and the employer is supposed to match that contribution. Let's take a look at some of the cases that you need to look at to get a clearer picture. The maximum contribution in the month of January, that is last month, for a person in earning a salary, Tier 1 was up to 7,000 shillings of your salary, which was attracting 6% of that would be 420 shillings. For Tier 2, the limit was 36,000. The limit has been 36,000 shillings. So the difference between 36,000 and 7,000 is 29,000. So that 6% of 29,000 comes to 1,720 shillings, and the total there is supposed to be 2,160, which is 6% of 36,000. So this has been the maximum contribution for every employee in the country. Now, for the month of February, that is changing, because the upper limit is rising to 72,000 from 36,000 to 32,000. This is how it's going to work. So Tier 1 already rising to 8,000 shillings. 6% of that is 480 shillings. Tier 2, the limit rising to 72,000 shillings. The difference between 72,000 and 8,000 is 64,000. So 6% of 64,000 comes to 3,840, meaning that the total deduction will be 4,320 shillings. So that's an increment, which is a double increment from 36,000 to 72,000, and the contribution rises to 4,320 shillings. So for someone earning a salary of 50,000 shillings, this is what is going to happen. In Tier 1, which is 7,000, the 6% is 480 shillings. In Tier 2, that will come to 2,520 shillings. That is a 6% of 8,000, not 7,000, and that will give you a total of 3,000 shillings. So the employer is supposed to match the same. So they will do that, and therefore Tier 1 will give 960 shillings, which is the total between the employer and the employee. In Tier 2, the total will be 2,520, and inclusive of the employer, that will come to 5,040 shillings. So the total saving for the employee will be 6,000 shillings for someone earning 50,000 shillings. Now, compared to what it was in January, which is last month, 2,160 times 2, which was 4,320, it's rising to 6,000 contribution per employee. Let's take a look at another case of someone earning 40,000 shillings. So here is how Tier 1 will look. So Tier 1 will remain the same for so many employees in the country. Tier 2 changes because you're talking about what remains between 8,000 and your salary, the limit being 72,000. So the contribution for this employee will be 2,400, and the employer will match that contribution by 2,400 shillings. So the total saving for that employee will be 4,800 shillings. Currently, or rather in January, the contribution was a total of 4,320, which is 2,160 times 2. So you can see the difference there. Now, for someone earning a salary of 80,000 shillings, so you realize this is beyond 72,000 shillings. So Tier 1 remains the same. Tier 2 will not go beyond what is 6% of 72,000. So you still be at 3,840. So the total contribution for this employee will be 8,640. So this is important, because in as much as it is a saving, you realize the difference between 8,640 and the total of 2,160 times 2, which is 4,320. What does this mean for the employers? It's affecting their cash flows, because this is a statutory deduction. They have to pay for the employee, and also make their own contribution for that employer. So it's going employee rather. So it's going to have impact on the cash flows of the organization. Let's take a look at something else. If someone is earning a gross pay of 50,000 shillings, this is how the pay slip will be different between January 2025 and March 2025, or if you like, Feb 2025, which is next month. This has been how it has been. 39,619 was the take home. Because of the changes in terms of the contribution contribution of NSSF from 2160 to 3,000, the take-home will be 39,030 shillings. It may look like a difference of about 600 shillings, less than 600 shillings actually, but the reason is because the NSSF contribution is tax deductible, meaning it will be deducted before this person is taxed based on the existing rates as per the KRA and the laws in the country. Something else to look at is someone earning 80,000. How different is it between January 2025 and February 2025? This person took home 59,724 shillings on the 31st of January 2025, but next month, or next week rather, 20th of Feb, they'll take home 58,212. The difference will be 1,500 shillings, which is because of the NSSF contribution. So what does this tell us? In summary, let's take a look at that. And because of the two tiers, tier 1, which is a maximum of 480 shillings, must be paid to the NSSF. For tier 2, which you can see is a maximum of 3,840, can be sent to the NSSF, but an employer may decide to invest that money for the employees in private pension funds, which becomes a different arrangement. There may be better returns for that employee. And this, even if it's done, there has to be the threshold of 6%, which is the minimum contribution for the NSSF. And that is data point for this week. Wish you all the best as you approach the end of February.